And we're live. Hey people, how are you doing? Welcome to episode 238 of the Sports Therapy Association podcast. My name is Matt Phillips, creator of OneChatLive.com. And as always, this episode is being recorded 8 o'clock on a Tuesday on the Sports Therapy Association YouTube channel. So we have reached the fourth episode of our new reflection series on the Sports Therapy Association podcast, in which I invite a listener of the podcast onto the show to chat with me about a past episode of the STA podcast that has particularly affected their daily practice as a soft tissue therapist. There is about 234 to choose from. So if you are interested in being one of those guests, then all you need to do is choose one of those episodes. As long as we haven't talked about it yet, then feel free to contact me. Easiest way is probably matt@sta.co.uk or hit me up on social media. And then basically, as long as you've got a good internet connection, a laptop, mic and webcam, then you come on for about 30 minutes and talk about that episode and how it's affected you. It's as simple as that. As I've said before in previous shows, it's everyone feels great after doing it. Even if you're nervous, then hit me up on social media. We'll have a little Zoom call or something beforehand just to settle your nerves. And believe me, it's great for you as a confidence builder, as personal development and all those sort of things. You will feel better for it afterwards, and it can lead to great networking options and possibilities and help you branch out in your own business. So that's why we're doing it. In this episode, very shortly, I'm going to be joined by Daniel Williams, movement therapist and DNM and MI educator, who's going to be reflecting on episode 64, which was called Motivational Interviewing for Client Communication, which was recorded way back. This is great. Daniel's taking us all the way back to August 2021, where the guest was the marvelous Dr. Gary Mendoza. Before we bring up Daniel, I'd just like to say thank you to last week's guests, who were Sarah Jones and Sally Martin of the ST School, who came in to reflect on episode 214, What Values Make a Professional Therapist, which was recorded back in September 2024, with guest Martin Christensen from Norway of the Friday Physio Confession podcast. We had a great chat. It's all about professionalism and do we sometimes go overboard a little bit by saying we must never swear, we must always wear smart clothes. Does sometimes that risk the chance of not being fluid and reflecting the client or patient in front of us and maybe limiting communication? So there's a nice segue to tonight's episode, which is obviously going to be all about communication. And if you have joined us live talking about communication, then do feel free to leave questions in the comments. If you do come in and leave comments, then I can bring that up onto the screen. So Nikki Mansfield has said, bonsoir, mes amis. Bonsoir, ça va? It's Nikki, multilingual we are here. Sir Glenn Murphy, MBE, is in here as well, saying good evening all. Founder of the STA, Gary, just come through the door as well, who says good evening all. Hope you enjoyed the long weekend. It was a long weekend, wasn't it? But it was cool. Good to see you, Gary, and other people coming through the door as well. So yes, fire away. This is the reason to join live, people. Ask questions as they're on your mind. Get it done. Don't rely on making time to listen to the podcast later on. Now, take advantage of the fact we've got the guest and we're talking about it now. Right, so there we go. Let's get on with tonight's show. I shall now bring up Daniel Williams, movement therapist and DNM MI educator. Hey, Daniel, how you doing?
Hi, Matt. You all right? Hello, everyone.
I'm very well. Good to see you. I like seeing you. I love seeing you at Therapy Expo. I think a lot of people who have met you will agree that you're a lovely bloke and a great educator. So I really appreciate you giving us your time to be on the show.
Thank you very much. Your beard's getting bigger every time.
I mean, it depends on that. But normally when I go to the barber, I'm just shattered and I've gone there for some social grooming and I just sit back and go, yeah, just cut it. And I walk out with whatever they've done. So yeah. It's length changes. But for people who aren't aware of you and the great work that you do with people like Mike Grice, then can you give us a little, I know it's tricky, especially with the amount of things you've got going on, but give us a little elevator pitch of what you do and where you are in the world.
So I work out of a clinic in Harborne and I do like person-centered therapy, where like movement therapy sort of stuff from Mike's movement therapy diploma that he did. So very much centered around lots of exercise therapy, lots of manual therapy and calming shit down, building shit up, basically, lots of Greg Lemon stuff as well. So all that kind of merged into one to kind of provide somebody with person-centered care as much as we can. Always striving to do better and trying to pass on what I've learned to other people as well. So hence why I've got into DNM and motivational interviewing and stuff. And everything I learn, I try and learn from the best if I can. And then if I'm in a position where I can pass it on, and brilliant. If not, it's I'll learn a bit more.
Fantastically put. What a great communicator, which is good because that's what you want the show to talk about. But yeah, that was really beautiful. And I would feel guilty if we didn't just mention what DNM is, if only to honour Diane Jacobs and the great work that she's done in the past and continues to. So yeah, give us a little, we won't talk too much about it, but what is DNM?
Dermoneuromodulation. So basically is a fancy way of saying skin, nerve and change. She had to give it a word for something. It's just an explanatory model for touch and manual therapy and more of a neurocentric approach in what she has come up with the evidence that she collated and put into a book. So it's all open source. So if you ask her for all the references, she'll freely give them all over to you. So she's not holding anything back behind a paywall apart from a book. She'd probably give it away free if she could. So
she would do, wouldn't she? No, amazing. For anybody who hasn't or doesn't follow Diane Jacobs, then it's well worth following. Still very active on social media, often just to comment on the state of the world today. But yeah, look up. We often her papers are quoted, and the work she's done with people like Jason Silva now, a real legend in manual therapy, and someone who you should definitely read to people. So yeah, and Daniel is teaching her course DNM, Dermoneuromodulation, which deserves an episode in itself at a later date, which would be great. But we don't have time for that because tonight it's all about Dr. Gary Mendoza, who was with us a while ago, back in August 2021. Obviously, you've taken over his course, which we'll go into in a moment. But what was it about that course or that particular episode and motivational interviewing which you think is important for soft tissue therapists who may be listening tonight?
I watched it when it came out, and I watched it again over the last couple of days just to refresh myself and give me some stuff to talk about and stuff like that. And there's lots of things on there, but the thing that attracted me to it in the first place sounds like a 90s dial-up broadcast. Well, back in time, man. The thing that attracted me to a motivational interview was there was always something especially with Gary and what he was putting out initially anyway, because I did his course before the STA chat, so I'd already done his course by the time that came out, so I was kind of looking at the STA chat with open eyes a little bit, so different to somebody who's never heard of it and then watched the STA chat, so I appreciate that, but there was always something difficult for me when we've probably all been through it, especially if you've been through the pain science stuff and the BPS model where you've pain science education vomited on someone and they have just gone, nah, like, sorry. So you're saying it's all in my head and you're like, no. And then you're backtracking from there. And then you don't get that client adherence when they're coming back and they're not doing their exercises or they're not helping themselves or anything like that. You're trying to spout stuff at them and be an operator rather than an interactor with them. And it very much is, the more I looked into motivational interviewing, that it was the communication version of DNM. So you've got the DNM, which kind of very much the physical manual therapy, the touching and therapy version of interacting with the person. But the communication and the side is very much person-centered from that angle as well. So it's kind of it made sense to me to do that and think about it and engage my clients before we made a plan and then go forward and evoke what their actually reasons are for coming here. Because we just presume or take it on face value, asking closed questions and not listening enough. So I always knew there was something there. And the reason was that I didn't get the outcomes I wanted. I thought I was good, and then you kind of get humbled, and you're like, well, why aren't I helping people change, or why aren't I helping people get better? Why aren't I helping people get better? When there's got to be another way. There's got to be something I'm missing there, and I think that's what drew me to that. And but that's what Gary says in that episode is that. He says he's been a personal trainer for however many years, but exercise is a swear word. And you say to somebody to exercise that it has negative connotations to them, whereby if you're just playing games with them or something, that you might elicit a different response, or gamify the rehab exercises for some people. And it's just being person-centered and treating the person in front of you. So there's lots of things that episode brought up with Gary that he didn't say on the course, and actually elaborated on in that chat a little bit more as well.
That's really interesting. I really like your link between DNM, which kind of, rather than just touching an arm or a leg or doing something to soft tissue, you involve the rest of the person through the neural system. That's great. But I hadn't thought of that connection with, that's what motivational interviewing is. You're actually involving the person behind the words and peeling off the layers and allowing them. Very cool connection. And you're teaching both. I get it now. I get it. It makes so much sense. Also, another thing which you mentioned, which I think is really important, is you kind of blasé, you kind of said, I noticed that my outcomes weren't that good. But I reckon that's something which a lot of clinicians don't do. Do you think that's part of the problem? Not everybody notices their failures. In fact, they probably subconsciously, purposely sweep them under the carpet, don't they? So have you experienced that? Do you find that's a problem with therapists?
Yeah, probably. I think you have that confirmation bias where you believe that if a patient doesn't come back to you, you've fixed them, probably, and you just sweep it under the carpet and go, no, it's done. That's good now. But what you don't know is the amount of people that have come to other therapists or people like us and have gone, I went to this person, didn't help me. I went to this person, didn't help me. And so I'm hoping you can do something different. And that's where, again, it's like good communication. And actually asking the client what they've done in the past and what they haven't and stuff like that can get you to the root of, oh, well, if that therapist has tried that and that didn't work, I'm not doing that. I'm going to try a different approach and go down there. And that's just effective communication between you and the client. But yeah, I think there is a confirmation bias between that and wanting to fix someone. And if you are wanting to fix someone, you're setting yourself up for failure, because when you don't doing the things that you do, there is always an element of a flare-up happening, and then that kind of knocks their confidence in you, and then your engagement with that person and that rapport gets a knock a little bit, and they'll go, well, you told me this, and you told me you'd be done in four sessions, and it's been 8 or something, or you strung me along for a year, and it's like. But as Gary said, I remember Gary saying to me once, it's like, always tell them on the first session that there are going to be flare-ups. And then when they occur, you can turn around and go, I told you there's going to be flare-ups, and there's going to be flare-ups with your pain, or there's going to be setbacks. And when we planned it in the first stage, we knew we were going to have to plan through them and go back and take a recheck and reassess, then go forward again. But you've already done that from the start. You've addressed it. So it's within your plan from the start. So you're not pulling the wool over their eyes. You're being completely open with that person.
That's really good. I'm sure tonight I could have like one of those bingo checklists of great things that Gary said, speaking about motivational interviewing. And that was indeed, one of them. I'd forgotten about that one, actually. Because we go through phases where we think maintenance is an ugly word. And when the client does get ill again, we kind of say, we have to come back in for more. And straight away, the client's like, what are you talking about? So, it makes perfect sense. And it's lovely, because I think we'll have a few of these tonight in the show. Yeah. There's tiny little tweaks of the way you work, which can just save so much headache and also improve your business plan, and make it so much easier and take responsibility away from you. So that's really cool. For people who are listening and have never heard of MI, or maybe they have and they've heard kind of a bastardized version, because there's a little bit like any kind of tool. There's different versions out there, but you've studied not only with Dr. Gary Mendoza, but you've actually studied with one of the co-founders in person. Tell us a bit about that. That must have been great for you.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I found out that Gary was retiring, which was a bit early on, I suppose, compared to when he put it public, I asked him if I could take over and do different things. And I've read the book, done all that stuff. And he mentioned to get in touch with Stephen Rollnick. He's based in Cardiff, and I started doing courses with him. So he does in-person courses once a year, one beginner, one advanced, all in person for 2 days. He's brilliant, lovely bloke. Like I've did a couple of the courses myself, and then got asked to go back and help him assist on the courses as well. So I've done several assists with him. One was just being cameraman, so
still learn a lot. Hey, mouth closed, yeah.
So get a free lunch. So I'll video for a bit. But yeah, no, it's going for a drink with that man is fantastic. Yeah. The fountain of knowledge and the stories that he has, like some of the stuff he's constant. So he is wanting to retire within the next couple of years and pass things on to Orla Adams, who is a fantastic dietitian in Cardiff as well, and she's a member of Mint, their motivational interviewing network of trainers, and she's awesome, and she runs most of the courses now, to be honest. And Stephen's just there to kind of lending an ear, doing different things, and being there because he's him. And then Orla is fantastic there, and she does deliver it in such a brilliant way. So she will be taking it over going forward, which is brilliant. But yeah, it's just nice to get those different approaches because they've been working for years with MI, and how fluidly it comes off their tongue, even when she's presenting and he's presenting. It's you can tell and you can nitpick things. So and see, oh, that's MI, that's the style of communication that MI is, and you can start seeing it in everyday conversations. But yeah, then I did. They recommended me to go and do a MITI coding course. So I did that last year as well, where starting at 10 o'clock at night, like online with some Americans over. So it was on, I think it was Pacific time as well. So it was a fair way. I wasn't the worst. There was a couple of guys in Hong Kong, and they were like at wee hours in the morning. So I did not want to be them. But that was the MITI coding is basically what they used to prove that motivational interviewing works in an environment. So they had to come up with a system to research it. So all the research and evidence that's produced for MI is based on this MITI coding system. So if you want to look that up, that's really cool. And you can score people's conversations. So that's what we would do, and that's what Gary's done as well beforehand, is when you would put your homework in for him and your video of your conversation, he would run it through transcription and then pick up and score like that's an open question, that's an affirmation, that's a reflection, that's a simple reflection, that's a complex reflection, and then work out the ratios between it. And then there's certain ratios, I can't remember off the top of my head, to make it an MI compliant conversation. And that was full on. That was 4 days of like 6 hours at a time. So sitting on my bum in front of a computer, right? See, being the manual therapist and in the gym most of the time, I did not appreciate that.
So you've dropped a few kind of words and terminology in there, which I'd like to get into for people who haven't heard of MI before. People who are in the comments, don't forget, make the most of this and ask some questions. If any of you have any experience using techniques for motivational interviewing, then do feel free to share that. Or if you've got any questions, maybe we've got Daniel here, who is trained with one of the co-founders of the whole technique anyway. So I'm sure Daniel will be able to answer, or if not, he'll spin it back around to you and you'll have the answer, which is amazing, which would be great. But yeah, so some of the things you mentioned, what is the core element of motivational interviewing? What's it about?
So it's a style of communication rather than a technique. So it's more it's more about being empathetic and authentic to yourself as well as other people. So you're actually trying to find their motivations for wanting to change, and it's very person-centered. So that's why it works so well with DNM as well. And it's basically guiding to elicit and strengthen motivation for change in a nutshell. You don't want to be persuading or trying to fix them. And that is one of the things that a couple of the changes that have happened from the third edition since Gary's podcast that he did to the 4th edition book that came out last year. There's been a few changes in language, which we'll go over a little bit, hopefully. But yeah, there's a few things there. So it's not about trying to fix people, which perfectly sort of integrates with the operator-interactor paper that Jason Silvernail and Diane Jacobs did on how we should approach manual and physical therapy. So it kind of works together, very person-centered. You don't want to be telling someone what to do. It's very much sort of guiding them, working with them. And a quote that Stephen Rollnick always uses is, you want to be dancing with them, dancing with your client rather than wrestling. Mm-hmm. If you're wrestling with your client, you're fighting against them, you're trying to change them forcefully. If you're dancing with them, you're guiding them through and you're leading them in a different way.
That's very nice. I didn't realize that was his. I used that in a podcast I was on the other day, and I said, I can't remember where I heard this, but now I know. So thank you. Of course it came from MI.
I think it's his.
So many of the pearls do. But it often is that imagery which really helps the coin drop for therapists thinking how. I don't know if I'm putting you in the spot here, but could you give us like a working example, maybe something of how maybe some of our listeners do something when a client comes in, to how maybe they could tweak it a little bit to open the door to what you're talking about?
One thing that has drastically changed my practice recently, actually, is because this was all great, but it was the introduction of transcription software and AI. So using an app that it records your conversation and then will give you the transcript afterwards, and it can use AI and put it into your physio notes if you want to for quick and easy access to those. Add them into your software, just make sure they're right. But it gives a perfect example of being able to record your conversation with someone, be present with them, and look them in the eye and face them, instead of being like that and, oh yeah, what was this? And yeah, asking very closed questions. So one thing that Mike Grice, he told us to do from the very start. So he's been from a teaching background, utilizing a lot of this stuff anyway. It just made his practice a little bit more and ours as well. But yeah, he told us from the very start is to get the pre-screening forms out there. And if you're getting pre-screening forms with the closed questions already done, then when you're in with the room with them, you can start asking open questions and start to engage with them straight away, instead of have an interview process that feels more like an interview rather than an actual conversation and a collaboration to help them. That's profound, I think.
And just to clarify for people who aren't aware, what do you mean by an open question?
So an open question draws out thoughts and ambivalence to change. So you sort of, you're asking an open-ended question that is not a yes or no. So a closed question is yes or no, or certain answers where you're asking for their name or something like that. Or are you male or female, or anything like that? What is how tall are you? These sorts of things. Closed questions where you typically get a yes or a no response, and they're very closed. They will usually close a conversation, but an open question will open that conversation to more elaboration on their part. So if you wait and hold space, they will usually give you more than you think as well. So that is one thing that you could introduce straight away with anything. Is just hold space, hold back, count to 4 or 5 or whatever you feel is comfortable for you before you say anything when your client has stopped speaking. Because more often than not, like as Gary mentioned before several times, if you hold that space, you feel awkward, but they'll feel awkward. And what do you want to do when it's awkward? You want to talk. So if they've got something to say, they'll probably elaborate it. Especially men, like men will usually start to elaborate a little bit more if you give them space and time to actually talk.
So let's put this into, just to give our listeners an idea. So someone's come in, I don't know, they're presenting pain around, I don't know, the Achilles or something like that. So give an example of a closed question, which you might, people listening might direct to that patient or client if they've come in with pain around there. What might a closed question be? And then what would be a better open question, which would open it up more?
Okay. Does it hurt on the Achilles tendon itself?
Okay, so obviously you can say yes or no, yes, no, yes, no.
No.
Okay.
Yeah. So you're asking those sorts of questions. Does it hurt here? Does it hurt here? Does it hurt if you do this? Does it hurt if you do this? Very closed question. If you're asking an open question, you're asking, where does it hurt? And then they will elaborate and say, well, it hurts here. And they might go, well, it hurts here, here, and here. And they might give more information. So the information that you get from asking a closed question is very limited, because you're only getting the information that you are seeking.
Mm-hmm.
But if you ask an open question, you might get information that you hadn't even thought of that drives that conversation into a different area and goes, oh, well, that opens up so many more doors. The amount of times I talk to, I'm not perfect, but by all means, it's striving to be as best as we can, and we'll continue to do so. But it's very, the amount of times I come up with it and go, oh, I should have asked that then. Should have asked an open question there. And then you ask it anyway afterwards, and you just drive the conversation. And they take that conversation in a different route, and you go, oh, that's thrown a curveball. I didn't know that. Yeah,
I enjoyed that. I watched, actually, knowing this episode was coming up, I wanted to watch a video of Stephen Rollnick that I hadn't heard before, and I found one. He was talking to CrossFit. I can't remember how long ago it was. It wasn't that long ago, because he was talking about getting to sport and parenthood and stuff like that. But yeah, he made the point of the beautiful thing about MI is, because you are practicing not talking and like putting your hand over your mouth, maybe, or whatever things that Gary said, and giving that and giving the responsibility for the actual person you're talking to talk, then it does give you time to kind of think during that, as well as clocking what they're saying, but to kind of think, how's this going? Oh, that's interesting. Look what they've just done. They've just opened up. So you can actually practice it whilst you're doing it and see how it goes.
Yeah.
Rather, for people who are stressing out, thinking, oh my God, what have I got to do next? It's not like a conversation where you're talking and thinking, what am I going to say next? You've got plenty of time now to actually sit back and then think, oh, that's interesting. And it makes takes a lot of the pressure off, which I think was a good point.
Really does, yeah.
So great. And I liked what you said about the thing about pausing is what normally happens if you do give a pause and then they continue. What's kind of different about what they then come out with?
It's usually more in depth. It's you're going to get that surface level conscious kind of response that they've been thinking of. It's on their mind. That response of that question, they're probably straight away they're going to give that. If you wait, they have to start delving into their own subconscious a little bit and start to think, oh, he wants more. Actually, yeah. Is there more? And they start to do that. So they'll start to be in their own head and go, whether this is happening in their own head and they've got it in a voice or not, it's a story for another day. But they start to give more information. Basically, is that outcome? They start to give more in depth information that will draw out thoughts or different ambivalence from different areas that we can start to latch onto and go, oh, I'm going to drive that conversation that way instead. That was interesting what you just said there. Let's go down there. That's more interesting. Or I want to know more about that. And then when you reflect back on that, you can gain more information into that area of things, which is something that they probably wouldn't have thought to give. And the amount of times somebody would come up and go, oh, I don't know whether it's relevant, but this, and this. And how many times is that usually relevant? And then you go, oh, okay, yeah. And then you can sort of steer that conversation into that a little bit. It makes them think more.
So I guess part of appreciating how this works is realizing that, maybe does it help to first of all understand that to help this person, it's not going to be all with your hands. You're not going to be, a lot of that is important and involved, maybe for reasons you didn't think, but in order to appreciate the success that MI can give you, do you have to have already kind of thought that patient's got a lot of the answers? I put a lot of more power in the subjective rather than the objective. Is that something which helps to get the point of MI?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's just, I think for me, the role of MI is just being present with that person and authentic and empathetic with the person in front of me. And that's the sort of spirit of MI they talk about. And it's different things for different people. You have that, but you have that collaboration and authenticity and stuff like that. It's very person-centered at the whole of it. So you are dealing with the person in front of you, and if you can engage with that person, they're going to give you so much more information than just a closed question that you're riddling off on your form. So yeah, I think it's it allows for just more effective communication as well, because you could go through a whole hour of just a normal conversation of closed questions, seeking the relevant information that you want, but with certain guided questions, not in a technique, but a style of just dancing with the client in front of you, you can gain and elicit that information that you require without knowing that you require it in a much shorter time. And then you can sort of get to those motivations of why they want to change. It's very difficult for us with MI because, well, not difficult, it's easy for us in one way because we've already got a certain amount of buy-in. And MI was originally sort of developed for people with addictions that don't want to change. So a lot of these things with MI are built up around trying to get people to change when they don't want to, and trying to evoke those reasons for change out of them. For us, I find that it just helps us develop that buy-in a little bit more, evoke more reasons to change why they're here, and more of an emotional reason why they want to do the things they want to do. Or I can't do this, I can't lift my head up. Well, why? What's the reason behind that? What's the function behind that? And again, we always told, no, it's because I can't play with the grandkids or something, can't get down on the floor, can't do my sport. And it's more of an emotional attachment to that. And then they're going to have more of that buy-in when they go and do their rehab exercises, or are they ready to change? Are they ready to change something in their daily life or their load management, whereby that's going to affect their pain or rehab or whatever? Because clearly something, if it is a load management issue, something's been amiss, and that's probably caused that load versus capacity to be a bit out of whack, and getting them to pull back and go, let's have a look at your load. Have a look. I had to do this today with somebody, literally plan their week out and go, what are you doing in the week? Because something's clearly not right with your recovery or something like that. And this is a flare up that has happened about 6 months down the line. So dealing with a flare up. So coming back with that. And I literally had to tell him today, I told you 6 months ago this would happen. And this is what we're going to do. Like I said, we plan, we strip it back, and then we go forward again. And it's a tough pill to swallow, but you could see it on his face going, yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. It was almost like yeah, but I did everything right. And you're like, yeah, sometimes I told you, like at the start, like sometimes you can do everything right, even myself, and you still get injured, you can still get flare-ups just because of life. But that doesn't mean we can't strip it back and build it back up again and see what happens. But yeah, it's very powerful to be authentic with that person, and effective communication, I think, and it just guides you in your whole practice. Is the essence of it, really.
I guess I like the way you mentioned exercise and persuading somebody to actually do their exercises or rehab program that you set them, or maybe try and get more sleep or eat better, or there's going to be a behavior change. I think that's one of the big things, isn't it, about going from a level 3 where you're not working with injured people, and then as soon as you move to a level 4, level 5, then you are going to have to look beyond the calming down of the nervous system. You're calming the shit down, like you say, with the Greg Lehman sort of stuff. And obviously that does normally involve a behavior change of some form, and it could be loading. So, and also we know that one of the biggest problems is lack of adherence to exercise. And I often talk about this, and when I'm reflecting on my own practice, and I'm hoping there's some listeners out there who maybe even today have thought, oh, that bloody patient doesn't do their exercises. How the bloody hell they think they can get better if they don't give the exercises that I give them? And I think a real good coin drop moment that I had, and it was because of somebody else or something I read or what I saw on a course, was like, if they're not doing the exercises, that's got something to do with you. Maybe they didn't understand the importance of it. Maybe you gave them too much. Maybe you didn't consider the fact that they really aren't going to go to the gym. So I think once a therapist pulls that blame back to themselves without taking too much responsibility, but realizes, hold on, I didn't get that across to them properly, and that's what the communication is, isn't it, as well? It's kind of a two-way thing. So if you are a therapist out there who's blaming patients for not doing exercises, this is what we're talking about, okay? Because that person might not be ready to make that change. And this is what MI is all about. It's about trying leading them down that road through their objections and stuff, and then eventually being ready to plan a change. And that's so great stuff. We've got a few comments here. Nikki Claire Emmanuel, thanks for joining us live, Nikki. She has said, huge key term there, the power of holding safe, healthy, healing space for open, more revealing space questions. The type of assessment makes a huge difference, definitely. Yeah, great point. That's holding safe. And there's so many techniques that Gary came out with as well, isn't there? About, I liked what he talked about, the writing reflex. You tell me about the writing reflex. I'm sure that's something you talk about a lot in your course.
Yeah, so the writing reflex is actually something that's been changed.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so in the fourth edition, it's actually been changed from the writing reflex because it was they've tried to change a lot of the language in the fourth edition to more general terms. So because it's going from a more of a superior sort of healthcare or medical sort of standpoint where they've got these jargonized sort of words and these things, to simplify it all so it can be used across the world in different environments, because it is being used in teaching and loads of areas in counseling and stuff. And if the client as well as the therapist can understand what is happening, it's a lot easier. So this actually goes nicely onto those changes of what has happened from 2001 to now. So the fourth edition came out last year, and the writing reflex has been changed to the fixing reflex.
Okay, makes sense.
Kind of makes a little bit more sense, yeah, because we are trying to fix someone. We're trying to fix that thing instead of trying to write it. And it means the same, but it just makes a little bit more sense. So it really just means we want to jump to fix people rather than collaborate and understand their motives behind it. So yeah, you do want to fix someone, even if they didn't ask you to. They've come to you for help, and you instantly want to try and fix it. But I know from my girlfriend, if I try and fix every problem she has, she doesn't like that. Somehow she doesn't like me providing solutions. So I have to kind of ask her, does she want solutions or does she want to be listened to? And
you don't put it that way, do you?
Not that way. But
I was going to say, listen, love, what do you want, a solution or just me to sit back and listen to you? That's not good.
A roundabout way. I won't tell you what exactly to say. But yeah.
I hope she's not listening.
Yeah, probably is, knowing my luck.
But I'm hoping listeners can understand that. Yeah, the writing reflex or the fixing reflex, like telling somebody straight, because you're sitting there thinking, I know the answer to this. This is what I did on the course. I can solve this situation. And boom, like you said earlier, vomiting it out. But that's a problem with education, isn't it? Not on Mike's courses, Mike Grice, obviously, and forward-thinking courses. But traditionally, courses still think they're empowering you by putting you up there as somebody who's got all this knowledge. And then as soon as the client comes to the door, all you've got to do is offload that knowledge. And that's what makes you a great therapist. But it's so not that, is it?
No. And that's the thing, I think, when you're providing technique-based courses as well, which MI isn't a technique, it is a protocol, as in like you have these paths. And that is what another change that's come up as well on MI is that it's no longer called processes that you go through. They're called tasks that you can jump in and out of. So it isn't a process where you have to engage, then you have to go up to the next level, then you have to go up to the next level, up to the next level. And then, I'm allowed to plan with them now. It's like, no, you might have to go back and forth, up and down, tasks at different point. You might have to go back to engaging because you get a bit of discord with them. And you have to engage them again because you found something that they didn't like, or they have created some discord in the conversation, or you've created some discord in the conversation that has resulted in you need to engage them back again and evoke more out of them. And that might have to happen over several. It's not in one session. This could happen over weeks. This could happen over months. So during your calming shit down phase, where you might have to provide more manual therapy than you would like to get them loaded and stuff, you might have to engage a lot more. And manual therapy can be a perfect part of communicating and engaging with that client, I feel, to get that buy-in, get them on board, and then you can start to evoke their reasons for change later on. It doesn't have to all be done in that session, not that first session. It's developing that rapport with someone, that communication over time. But yeah, it's if you're teaching a technique, a how-to, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you do this step, this step, this step. You're trying to fit people into a box where they're not wanting to be in a box. So if you get taught the tasks or the methods behind it, you can apply that or what you know everywhere to that person individually. So I think that's where that person-centered approach for any course that you're doing, if you know the methods and the process behind it, basically, you can help them a lot more because you don't have to be stuck. You can go in a different path with them if you need to. You freedom basically to do, I'll do a bit of manual therapy today with you if you want. If somebody comes in and they're requesting acupuncture or something, I've had really good results with acupuncture before. I don't normally do acupuncture, but I know for that engagement, I would probably do it. Yeah, and that's fine because I know that if they've had really good results with it and that they want a bit of dry needling and I'm qualified to do it and they love it, and that gives me the opportunity to engage with them, talk to them, get them going and give them a bit more of what I think they probably need to get better and plan their rehab more effectively. So be it. That's fine. And if it helps calm shit down so they can build it up, brilliant.
Well put. That's great. And you're still, for people who are worried, just still being evidence informed because there's like 300 plus RCT papers showing how that sort of thing. I think I can't remember. You might know actually, but I think it was somebody who's worked with Stephen on occasions. Names escape me, but she was involved in a study about empathy, and I think it showed quite clearly that was the one. Yeah. How empathy can often affect patient outcome much more of a key factor than knowledge and experience and skill. But it's not that easy, is it? I think, and I wanted to make sure I'm trying to make these shorter, these podcasts, but you know what? It's so interesting listening to you and the topic. But I think for listeners out there, there's often this case because we're in this business, we kind of presume that we are good listeners because we work every day with loads of people. But there's so much which we could do better, isn't there? Which doesn't necessarily come naturally. It's nothing to be ashamed of, but give us some examples of that.
Things where we're overconfident in our listening skills, and then
little things which we could do better to become better listeners, which unless we are taught by yourself or somebody or read about it, we wouldn't even imagine doing.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the thing. You do think you're good at communication. I thought I was. Even doing MI, you just get to that point of sort of the Dunning-Kruger effect, where you are confident in what you're doing, and then you get humbled a little bit. You're like, oh yeah, that's. I'm not as good as I thought, or you get into a situation whereby you're talking about different things and different styles of communication, and coming back to those core principles if it's the person in front of you that you're trying to communicate with. So be curious. And one thing I learned from my girlfriend actually recently is seek to understand. I think that's from a Franklin Covey, I think it is. If you, that's not from MI, but something different, but it encompasses it better as an overall thing, is if you seek to understand, which is very much in the spirit of MI anyway, you're trying to understand the person in front of you and not show how good you are at communicating and listening. Because that is one thing that I learned, especially on top of it, like thinking I knew a lot, and you learn something new every day. But yeah, if you seek to understand in every conversation you have, you're going to ask more open questions because you're going to seek more. You're going to seek more information from that person in different ways. And then you understand and reflect back. So it perfectly sort of melds back into MI and what you would do in those processes. So another thing that you could do is the old school, well, the third edition, it was elicit, provide, elicit. But that has been changed to simply ask, offer, ask. So you're asking for permission to give information, and then you ask again. Mm-hmm. You offer and come back. So you're basically sort of asking for permission for things. So which is really weird to do in a general conversation. Like try and slip one with your family or your loved ones, because they'll turn around and go, "What the hell are you talking about?" Just
yeah.
So it's very, very difficult to like throw those in, but simply asking if and I've tried to do this with my personal relationships as well. Like I'll start doing it. I'll start giving information straight away. I'll be like this, explaining a situation, and then I'll cut myself off and go, "Do you even want to know?" For instance, I was talking about a car, and I was talking about diesel engines and petrol engines and spark plugs versus glow plugs and stuff. If you know anything about cars, you'll know this. But and I was talking to my girlfriend the other day, and literally I started reeling off, the difference between this and this, and I went, "Do you actually want to know why that works?" And she goes, "No, not really." Like, okay.
She's such a lucky woman.
So that saved a conversation. That saved me rabbiting on for half an hour about something she didn't care about. And because actually I didn't really care. Like, I didn't want to talk about it. I just felt the need to talk about it.
It's interesting how I think Dr. Gary Mendoza points out in the episode as well, and I've heard Stephen Rollnick talk about it in videos, is when you do a course in MI or something, then you will find that you can, not always, but there are situations where you can use it in life and you'll see the advantages of it. It is something I found. I did Gary's course. He did say, for your homework, it's probably not ideal to practice this with a loved one or a wife because it can lead to arguments, because it's kind of, what are you trying to get at? What are you trying to unpeel? They really don't want to be unpeeled because they think you've got a vested interest. It's important not to get that dynamic. But I think what you'll see it in work, in other areas of life with friends and colleagues, when there's not that kind of invested interest. And it's cool. Yes, suddenly you think, oh my God, that person's really opening up and talking to me and enjoying it. And they're asking me if they want to see me again. It's like, I've got a second date. Wow, how did that happen? Yeah. So it's cool. I think it's really beneficial. Which brings me on. I just wanted to address Cecily. I see here, it's a really good question from Cecily, as always. Cecily, who is going to be on the show as well, reflecting later on in the season. Cecily says, when learning about MI, do therapists struggle to leave their ego behind and be open to their clients' responses? I'm not sure ego is the word I want to use, but what did she say? Hopefully you get my gist. Yeah, it's a good question.
Good question. Yeah. I don't know. It's a really weird one because a lot of the training that I've done with MI initially, because I did Gary's course early 2001, I think it was. And then I asked him to sort of do one with Mike and the MTE crowd, and the first therapist one that he was talking about on podcast that you did before that we're talking about today. So I actually haven't done a course or been on very many courses myself with MSK therapists or sports therapists or anything. So I don't know. When I've been on courses, it's mostly been with talking therapists, psychotherapists, counselors, people in leadership roles that teach MI in management and project management or to communities. So they're learning MI across the board, but I don't know, because it's weird, because MI and those sorts of people, because you're wanting to help people and be the whole spirit of it is be your authentic self and be empathetic. I think it attracts very empathetic people and non-egotistical people anyway to want to try and learn that. So that would be my take on it, is that whenever I've been on a course in person, especially with that amount of people from around the world come to see Stephen, it's just full of really nice people that aren't really egotistical at all. I don't know, but I wouldn't have. If you're looking to go to a course in MI, you're probably not egotistical. You're probably, like you were talking about, Matt, already questioning why you have failed in something you've said for those outcomes to not be achieved. So if you're already thinking about that, and you're already thinking about doing a course with MI, you're probably already looking at the things that you lack in, and you're already wanting to improve on that. So probably not egotistical.
Good answer. Yeah, it makes sense. I think, Cecily, rather than ego, because if you're in healthcare, I mean, there are some people who are more educators who are kind of guru-driven and stuff, but in healthcare, like Daniel says, you're probably already altruistic person and empathetic and stuff. But I think more than the ego, it's more that fixing response or writing response that you really you struggle with. Because you've been trained to solve that problem, to be the fixer, and it's so difficult. And literally, as Gary was saying, sometimes putting your hand over your mouth when they're talking, or even just digging your fingernail into your finger, which is what I do sometimes. when even if I've got a guest, I'm not giving tricks of the trade away here, but if someone's saying something and I'm like, I really want to answer this quickly and put my 2 cents in, just stick your nail into your finger so it starts hurting, and that will remind you.
Yeah.
It's all about listening and wait and blah, blah, blah. So there are tricks to it, but I think that's the biggest surprise, Cecily. And knowing you, who are a wonderful speaker, you're very eloquent, you're very honest, and upfront and heart on your sleeve, a beautiful person to be involved in therapy. I think sometimes that will be a challenge because you've got so much to give, like a lot of us. So yeah, holding back until that moment comes, until they've unpeeled enough layers. So, but Cecily, yeah, you'd be great at it. It'd be really useful for you for those reasons, I think. Cool. Well, look, at 8:52, the idea was you're going to wrap things up at 8:40, so that didn't work. But it's such a great topic, and I really want listeners. I mean, it's a bit different this week because, the great thing about this podcast is you are giving courses in this. You've spent time with the co-founders and you've been developing your own techniques, and you're a great educator anyway with the D&M side of stuff. So, yeah, tell us about that. When can people look out for courses, and how do they kind of sign up?
So it's been since Gary retired last year. I was helping teach on his courses before that, anyway, and helping teach with Stephen recently over the last couple of years to just really sort of get confident in teaching it, to be honest, and try and move forward. So I'm trying to put some dates in now, to be honest. So trying to do some online workshops and put some dates in. So I've already put a few feelers out. The only thing that I've got in concrete is the Glasgow one. So it's the 2nd and 3rd of August, and that's an in-person 2-day course where we'll be actually doing lots of stuff like we did on Stephen's course and stuff like that. So lots of group tasks and stuff. I am actually doing a short intro to MI in Bournemouth at the STA South thing as
That's
well.
in a couple of weeks, isn't it?
Yeah, 10th of May at
Alex's. Fantastic.
Yeah, so doing a little bit of that. So we'll do a group task then to just intro to people to that and just get people to go in groups and sort of collaborate between and assess each other's communication and notch off a few MI skills, do some MITI coding. But other than that, yeah.
That'd be great. So just to not gloss over that, for because Alex and Gary were both crucifying me, which is a good time of year to get crucified. But no, that was wrong. We'll edit that out. But yeah, great for people who are in the south. Yeah, 2 weeks time, you've got STA Southern Conference going on in Poole.
Yep.
Yeah, Poole, which is accessible for a lot of people in the south, and it's too cheap. I have to talk to Gary about that later on, but it's I think it's 45 quid or something. It's crazy cheap, considering they've got like people like yourself there, and who else have they got down there? Alex is doing some Pilates stuff down there. I've looked at the lineup the other day. Say again.
Gary's going.
Gary's going as well. There'll be business injected ideas there as well. So it'd be a great, and also what we were talking about before off air was it's a great way just to meet up and collaborate with therapists from not too far away from you and kind of discuss and reflect on all those wonderful things. And like I say, Daniel's going to be there as well. So that'd be great. First of all, if you're in the south, 2 weeks time, tickets still available as far as I saw on the last social media post. If you're looking for more details on that, just go to the STA page or the STA member page or the open group, and there's all sorts of posts all over there. And then Scotland as well, which is great. So if you're at the other end of the country, nothing so much in the middle at the moment, we'll work on that. But if you're at the other end of the country, in Scotland, then that would be great. That's a face-to-face one, which would be a lovely opportunity to meet up with people as well. So good for Stevie Barr and wonderful people like that, and Leslie up those end of the woods. Fantastic. And if people are interested in this, so let's just bring up the website so people can see that as a visual. You've got a beautiful coloured website, mate. Very nice.
Thank you very much.
So, is it new?
Yeah. I in September. So it's work in progress still, but yeah.
Doing the job. It's lovely. So yeah, go along to the MVMNT, which really costs me to say. Obviously it's movement shortened down.
It's my life now is trying to but I've branded and I've got to stick with it.
Yeah, but it's fine. It's movement abbreviated to MVMNT, so the movement therapist. But that's fine because it means you've got those characters to fit into. I think it's the same thing, isn't it, on Instagram as well? And go along to the website and there's great information there. It's a beautiful website, even for people looking to how to develop their website, make it look modern, and go along there. I'd love a good website. I might talk to you later on and see who you got to do that. But and all the information about there is on there, and people can contact you and be updated about when other things come around. So great opportunity, people, to learn from somebody who, like I say, has been with the co-founders and is a great educator anyway. So That's very exciting. Oh, Tris Attenborough's decided to come through the door at the last minute. Talking of great educators, I'll be there hanging out. Let's hope not, Tris, that you don't have the same problem you had at Therapy Expo with those trousers with the zipper broken. But we won't go down that road. But Tris, I'm glad this is a good segue, by the way, because Tristan Attenborough, full name, actually Sir Tristan Attenborough, is going to be with us next week. Because did you know he's with us next week, Daniel?
No, I didn't know.
There you go.
News to me.
Yeah, it's news to you. Next week in our reflection series, I'm really looking forward to this. We're going to have, this is Tuesday the 8th. Tuesday 8 p.m. on April the 29th. My guest clinicians are going to be Stevie Barr and Tris Attenborough, who are both going to be reflecting on episode 74. So we're still going back some, which was an episode with Anna Maria Mazzieri and Matt Scarsburg, which was called Massage 2021, Year of Change, ? Isn't that great? Reflecting on that. Was 2021 a year of change for massage? There was a lot of movement going on, and there was the Massage Collective with Matt Scarsburg and Anna Mazzieri and Becky involved in there. How much of that made a difference? Are we at a different stage today? So what better than Tris Attenborough to talk about that, and Stevie Barr as well. So that's going to be next week. I wasn't going to say that before thanking you, but as Tris came through the door, I thought we better look after that ego.
Yeah, when the boss comes on, you got to thank him.
When the boss comes on, you got to thank him. But anyway, that's next week. But so do join us for that if you're around. If you listen to the podcast, then it'd be great. If you're a massage therapist in particular, but not only that, if any time in your life you put hands on people and get paid for it, then yeah, it'd be worth listening to that. How far have we come since 2021 with regards to how we explain the mechanisms and all that sort of stuff? Are we better? If we know how something works, are we actually making it better? But I jumped the gun there because first of all, I wanted to say thank you very much to Daniel Williams for joining us. You've managed the first of the reflection episodes to go way over the half hour I allotted, but it's such a great topic, and I appreciate your insight and skills. I mentioned the website. If people want to follow you, Instagram, you're active as well. Is that worth following you there?
Yeah, I'm inconsistent, but yeah.
Honest.
Whenever I can be bothered to post, I'll post. I'll do it for a bit. I'll get hyper focused, then I'll leave it for a couple of weeks.
Again, your girlfriend's so lucky, isn't she? You really are. It's such a catch. Yeah. Contestant number 3 on Blind Date. Yeah, definitely. But yeah, daniel.williams.mvmnt on Instagram. I follow him. I think it's worth following it. I think it's good. A bit inconsistent, but it's good. And also, like I say, the South Coast conference, which is going on in Paul, that'd be a good place to catch you as well. Right. And have I missed people in the audience who joined us live? Cecily. Yes, fixing is the better word. Thanks, gents, for your perspectives. Thank you, Cecily, for asking. Fine. Yeah. Thank you, people who joined us live. Really appreciate it. And thank you for listening to the podcast. If you have listened to the podcast and you've enjoyed it, you found any bit of it useful, then do please leave a review or a rating. It's very quick. Just chuck your 5 stars in there. Maybe say, great episode. Thank you very much. If you're in a hurry, which you probably are. But do put something, because it just helps this information appear higher in Google Podcasts. No one makes any money out of that. It's purely about getting the information out there on a wider scale to kind of fight the mainstream rubbish which is out there. Daniel?
Absolutely. It's what we're here for.
It's what we're here for. We've got to counterbalance. So please do that. You can play your part in helping healthcare across the board just by leaving a decent rating and reviews for the podcast. So I appreciate that. Tris Attenborough says, cheers, dudes. You got this. He's so empowering, isn't he? Such an empowering man.
Legend.
Such an empowering man. And so good looking as well. Don't normally get that combination in one person. Incredible. Right. On that note, thanks again, Daniel. Really appreciate your time.
No worries. Thank you very much.
We will be around next Tuesday again at 8 o'clock on the Sports Therapy Association YouTube channel. If you want to join us, until that, take care of each other and listen to each other a little bit more. Bye-bye.